everyone, this is David again. I'm very happy to be back for the second episode of our Bee Talks. And first of all, I want to thank you all for the fantastic comments and responses we've been getting so far after the release of the first episode with Maciej. This conversation is a follow-up to the first interview, and we go more in depth into topics from a manager, CEO perspective and how they should understand and do hiring, which obviously can make or break their companies. So I hope you enjoyed the next interview, and I hope you enjoy all of them because more are to come. Hello and welcome to the second interview with Maciej, the COO of our company and an experienced recruiter who has helped companies both recruit and design their recruitment processes. And we're going to be going a little bit more in depth this time about how to design a recruiting process. Why do you even need a recruiting process? And most importantly, this time we're going to go deeper into the perspective of the manager and the CEO of the company. So, hello Maciej.
Hello David, nice to be here again.
Okay, so why do you need a recruitment process at all?
Well, the recruiting and hiring people is not that easy that you can just find a person and hire in the company. You need the whole process to select the best person and also to give the time to that person to choose if the company is a good fit for this person. It's a hard time because you only have 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 meetings if the recruitment process is really long, and it means 5 to 6 hours to actually know this person and decide if you are going to spend next half a year, 1 year, 2 years, or even more together working.
Yeah, there's a radically overused quote by Richard Fairbanks from the CEO of Capital One Bank, who said that at most companies, people spend 2% of their time recruiting and 75% managing their recruiting mistakes. Recruiting mistakes are pretty costly, but especially to companies that are early in their scaling up. Mm-hmm. And how do these companies go about totally rehauling their recruiting process? After all, start of the recruiting for them is usually like their close social or professional network, but these are not really scalable processes, are they?
Yes, definitely. At the very beginning, you usually go with recommendations and with the people from your network that you know. And it is actually a good idea because you already have a proof that these persons are good, bad, they are a fit for your culture, and so on. But for small companies, it's even harder because when you are 10, 15 people strong, then the next person is really giving a lot of impact for the company, and it's hard to hire and even harder to fire this person. So you need to be very selective, and in the same moment you have limited resources. You do not have enough people to design the whole recruitment process, not enough time because everyone is doing very important stuff for the company. CEO probably is still selling the product, but you have to really put a lot into the recruitment still.
Okay, but let's imagine I'm a young startup who still doesn't have like real deep capability, like for example to hire a head of talent or a HR department. What can those companies do to like be both a modern recruiting institution, let's say, and still keep their like small startup soul?
If you are willing to devote time, then you do not really need a head of talent, I believe. But I see in a lot of startups that the HR person is one of the first 10 hires, and I think it's a very good idea to actually do that. But in that case, I would say that you have to split the recruitment process in stages. You have to do the first stage, second stage, third stage, and make it like a conversion model, like a pipeline. So every stage should be harder than the stage before, and also you should check different skills. Make sure that if you have any doubts after one stage, also you have one more stage to check it out, but you should check different skills at the next moment. So for example, a usual first stage is a phone screen. So you do not invite this person yet. Oh, of course, after the CV screening. So firstly, you look at the CVs on LinkedIn profiles. In a modern world, it would be LinkedIn profiles more often than not. Then you decide with whom you want to talk. You see a potential in the resume, and then you talk. So in this phone screen, you should give an idea how working in your company is like. You should also check the hard stuff. So if this person is speaking languages that you want, if this person fit in your salary range, in your budget, if this person is willing to do the responsibilities that you are planning for this job. And then after this stage, you may invite the person to the office for a longer meeting to ask about the details, do a behavioral interview or
But look,
other skills test.
you just made a very recruiter thing to do. You just jumped straight into the process because you're a natural at building this process. You have built it in many companies. But how do I even start thinking about designing such a process if I do not have the experience in my company? How do I go about finding this expertise?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. So you basically start with understanding who are you going to look for. And this is the most common problem, that it's hard for a hiring manager or CEO to define what are we looking for. There are a lot of biases, anchor points that we may be looking. For example, we think that we want a detailed person, like attentive to detail. So
What does it even mean?
yeah,
How to
what does
test
it even
this?
mean, and in which roles is it really important? For example, we want this person to send emails without errors. Does it really mean that we are looking for attention to details? I don't think so.
That's precise email typing. That's a different skill set.
Oh yes, or this skill of using Grammarly or language check or something like that.
Yeah.
So this is the first step, to understand who are we looking for. And I like the exercise of writing it in the job ad. I know in today's world, job ads may sometimes are effective, sometimes are not, sometimes a lot of people are applying, and very often no one. But if we have to write in a job ad who are we looking for in a really precise way, then we have to imagine it in our head. So we are automatically precising the responsibilities. And from my experience, if responsibilities are clear, then the recruitment process may finish in 1 month. If not, it may take 5 to 6 months. And it is experience from our company. And we have a lot of experienced recruiters. And still, if responsibilities are not clear, it's going to take a lot of time.
That's a really bad case scenario if a manager wouldn't know what the perfect candidate should look like. But also there is kind of a knowledge gap between recruiters and managers, that sometimes managers feel that they have a much better grasp at what they really want, which probably is true. And recruiters, on the other hand, have the recruiting knowledge. They know how to bring that type of person into the company. How do this gap of knowledge between those two groups plays out in the reality of the recruiting process?
It is a gap of knowledge, but also it is a conflict between who is an ideal person and the market. Because usually it is possible to find the ideal person, but there are just a few of them. To actually recruit them, we will need a really great offer. So to be a company with a great brand and to have a great salary ranges, and it may be impossible. And managers are not really up to date with the market, while recruiters sometimes have problems with understanding what are the core skills, core competencies for the certain position. And in my opinion, every recruitment, every position should be about a challenge. Because if you are a hiring manager, you have a problem to solve. And you have to describe this problem to the recruiter. And recruiter should also ask about this particular challenge and understand and advise who are we looking for, what this person might look like. Because a recruiter is contacting thousands of people per year, and really understand what kind of people are solving what kind of problems. And so recruiter should advise the hiring manager about that. Because maybe you are not looking for a great expert programmer. Maybe you are looking for a person with an experience in designing an API interfaces. Because this is your problem, and the rest of them can be taught in your company.
Yeah, but this requires a manager to be in a real partnership with a recruiter, to understand the recruiter has a set of expertise that the manager probably doesn't have. Because there is some distrust from the managers. HR departments are seen as siloed, as a little bit to the side of the business, unaccountable. Do you think that maybe there's a problem with this early perception of what the role, what the communication between the managers and the recruiters should be.
Yes, I think so. I think if the HR department is like a part of the business, not really cooperating very closely with hiring managers, then the communicating problem are going to happen, definitely. But this is two-sided. Firstly, recruiters have to understand hiring managers and their problems, that they may not be able to plan who are they going to need in the next half a year. It may not be possible for a hiring manager. But on the other hand, hiring managers have to understand recruiters, and that when they are talking about the market and what candidates expect, it is not that recruiters actually don't want to find a person. It is their responsibility, their duty. But the market may be quite different. So if they are rejecting the ideal profile, it doesn't mean that you did something wrong. It means that market may not have such people, or the offer is not good enough for these people.
Okay, so how do you convince a manager to use recruitment services? Because how do you prove return on investment on something? So after all, the process can take a month, it can take 3 months. Oftentimes you can't really know when the perfect candidate will be found. How do you convince managers to even work with a recruitment agency?
I believe that when you are a manager, you really have a lot of the domain knowledge in your field, but the recruitment is very different. And if you want to do it without the recruiter's help, it means that you are going to spend a lot of time learning about it, and you are going to learn by mistakes. And in the best case, you are going to waste a bit of time on unnecessary meetings. In the worst case, you are going to hire people that you do not want to hire. And the recruiter's job is to actually help you select these people. You are making decisions because you are deciding what competencies and skills are the most important, but recruiters may provide you the tools and may help you design the process to select the best people. And also, if you think that you have a profile of a candidate and you are going to the market with this profile and you are struggling with finding this person for 3-4 weeks, then recruiters will have answers. Why is this happening? And what can we do? What you might, as a hiring manager with no expertise in recruitment, you might try different stuff like lowering expectations or maybe raising the salary, but it's like a blind shooting. In case of a recruiter, the recruiter will tell you, with a great accuracy, I believe, that if you lower the expectations, it won't change much. If you raise the salary, it will, or the other way around. Sometimes we have cases with clients that they want to raise the salary higher and higher, and it still doesn't solve the problem. Usually, from my experience, lowering expectations, even a bit, means a lot more candidates.
So what is basically the perfect manager to work with? As a manager, what should I do to be a great partner to a recruiter?
Oh, you should be firstly responsive, very responsive. Second of all, you should have clear expectations, who are you looking for. And
or be open to amending them if necessary.
Yes, you should just have them categorized. Like first needs, core skills, core competencies, like the true challenge, then the secondary and so on. Because recruiter is going to look for the perfect candidate, but then it will be easier to find different people and make the base of candidate wider. So responsiveness, clear expectations, and also openness to recruitment process. We may try different things in the recruitment process, in the selection, and basically that's it. Because recruiter is going to do most of the job for you.
After.
You will just have to say who you want, and then you will have to select the best person. But in the meantime, the recruiter is just going to adjust the process and expectations. The best recruiters are going to do it in the sprints, I believe. So week by week, you should get an information how the process is going and what needs to be adjusted. So for example, in week 1, you are going to have a report from the recruiter, how the market is responding. And in the first week, probably the recruiter isn't going to make an assumptions, but may do some hypothesis. And in the second week, recruiter may need a decision from you. Are we going with this, or are we changing something to give faster results? So basically, you are still managing the process, but you have an expert in this field.
We spoke a little bit about the stages of the recruiting process. You started off with talking about the screening call. Well, first of all, what's the appropriate level of involvement at different stages of the recruiting process for a manager? Is it very flexible when cooperating with an agency like ours, or is it something that there are best practices to follow?
Well, the best practice, well, maybe not the best practice, but in the best case, the manager would be involved in every stage because the personal touch is quite important. And yes, if the candidate can meet the manager in the first meeting, then it would be great. But also, the impact is not so big that it would be actually the best practice. In my opinion, your involvement should be bigger from the stages which are happening in the office. Because the CV screening and the phone screen, it is a time when you are not really bonded with the candidate, and it's okay for the candidate to actually drop out of the process. And also it's okay for you to not decide to continue the process, and there are no hard feelings and so on. Then when you invite the person to the office, you demand from this person time to come to the office, to spend time with you, to talk. Then I believe managers should be involved. It may be different in the case of the CEO. I believe that the CEO may be involved in later stages, in the final stage, in my opinion. This is the best practice. But the hiring manager, hiring for their team, which is usually smaller than the whole company, should be present at the first meeting in the office.
So you say that the CEOs or the upper level managers should get involved in the process at the end of it, at the selection process, at the selection stage of the process. How to be a good person picker, let's say?
Well, firstly, I said that they should be involved in the CEO should be involved in the last stage. So probably the stages before are also about selection. What I mean is that in the recruitment process shouldn't consist only of talking, interviewing, because researchers show that assessment tests, it means also pair programming, or in case of tech candidates, or like assessment of the cases in case of project managers and product owners.
All those things takes a lot of time.
Yes, they takes a lot of time, but they also may be fun and designed properly. They should be done in the recruitment process. I also advise to do it in the office, to do not send tasks to do at home, but let's design it for an hour or 2 hours and do it at the office. It's also more engaging for the candidates. And they should check the hard skills of candidates and experience of candidates. Then you do the interview, and on the interview you are checking soft skills and also the cultural fit to the company. And who understands the cultural fit better than the CEO or the manager? At least they should, or at least they should know what they are expecting in this area. So it's hard. You have to design questions, and in my opinion, behavioral questions are the best. So you are asking about the past performance or the past situations of this person. It's really hard to...
Are managers good at it?
No.
Why?
No, they are not. Because usually when you are doing the recruitment, you are making assumptions during the recruitment process. So candidate is talking about something and you are making the assumption. For example, someone is talking, oh, I like doing homeworks at school and I always had good grades.
Oh, what a good person
yes.
That must be.
And also the assumption is, okay, this person is really hardworking and is good at processes. And no, this person didn't say that. It's your assumption about that. You should ask about what kind of process did you design on it, or in what kind of process did you work, or how did you organize your day, and then you may know that this person is well organized or is doing tasks.
But recruiters are human too, aren't they? Just as prone to those biases?
Yes, they are, but the best solution to fight with biases is actually understand them and know about them. You are always making assumptions, but if you understand that it may be a bias, then you just throw it away, and you are still assessing the facts. You should make notes. It's a good idea to actually always have at least two people at the interview, one making notes and one asking questions, because this person making notes is actually only making notes, is not making an assumptions in these notes. And if this person is making assumptions in the note, then it is an error.
So at absolute worst, it's okay to have a recruiter or a second person, at least in the process, to be like this little voice on our shoulder telling us, hey, dude, you may be biased in this and that. But the question I wanted to ask is like the question of time, because to be a good CEO, you should be able to at least devote some time to recruiting processes. And hiring managers probably have it even worse, with even more like particular activities to do, more pair programming stuff, screening calls, etc. So what's the final solution? Why, at which moment does it make sense to hire an agency?
I believe the moment when you are not able to hire from recommendation in your network. Because if you are doing that, then you probably have 1-2 candidates in the process, and it's okay. But then when you start hiring from the market, you usually have 10, 15 people in the process altogether, and the communication only is going to take a lot of time. I see that if hiring managers are doing it on their own, it may take to 20 hours per week. Not really bringing a lot of value, because sending emails, calling people, doing phone screen and rejecting a lot of people, it can really be delegated. Of course, meeting with people is very important and talking with them, but writing job ads and posting them, writing is quite important, as I said before, but posting them, then the whole communication is taking a lot of time, writing feedback.
So it's about basically scalability. At the moment where it's basically impossible for you to continue the process at the current scale of your company, it becomes pointless. So, okay, I think we're reaching the natural end of the conversation here. So maybe there is something you would like to tell the managers for a farewell information here.
Yes, I think the very important thing I didn't say before is that you should, because we talked how recruiter may help in the process. But if you are using external services, you should demand it from the agency. Because if agency is only sending you CVs and resumes, it's not an added value. It's not going to solve this problem. You're just going to have more CVs. So you have to demand this. Demand support, demand reports weekly, and demand expertise in the topic and solutions when something is not going well.
Okay, fantastic. I hope that by now the managers and CEOs that are listening know to demand much more out of recruitment agencies like ours. So I hope this doesn't backfire for us, but we're pretty happy with the standards we have. So hopefully not. So thank you, Maciej, a lot for the conversation.
Thank you.
And maybe talk to you like in a year or something like this. Hopefully you'll be back. See you.
See you.